introduce you to Andrew. Andrew is currently a University of Florida student and young entrepreneur. He also serves on the board of Causes for Kids, a nonprofit benefiting deserving Central Florida youth. Andrew has a really great story to tell you guys today on how he was extremely successful in his last venture here. His company's name is Atheris Games. It is a board and card game company based in Gainesville, Florida. And they launched their first game, Cul-de-sac Conquest, a game about annoying neighbors on Kickstarter, which raised over $20,000, which was essentially 200% of their goal. They are also developing a second game, an automotive racing game called Whole Shot Heroes. Atheris Games is a resident company in the Gator Hatchery, run by the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center at the Warrington College of Business Administration. Please join me in welcoming Andrew.
Thank you. All right. So I'm Andrew, the CEO of Atheris Games. So we make board and card games. Hopefully they don't do that with our games. They're supposed to make people happy. So our first game, Cul-de-sac Conquest, is a game about annoying neighbors. So your goal is to annoy all of your neighbors out of your proverbial neighborhood. So each character will be like a cat lady, a hoarder, things like that. And you have things you're annoying at and things that you're annoyed by. So you have these red cards are annoyances, so you can annoy all your neighbors. Use the blue and green cards to relax yourself, and orange cards are like bombs in the deck. They annoy you, so you can stub your toe, get a paper cut, all the things we accidentally do that annoy us. So we launched on Kickstarter, raised $20,000, and so that was exciting for me. So it starts with the early traction. So the main thing with Kickstarter is we had all kinds of launch parties in every city that I knew someone in. So we had like 5 total. And I got as much money in the first day as possible. So if you see like on our graph, we started within the first hour, we had like 6,000 of the 10,000 goal. And we funded within 52 hours, which they typically say you want like 30 to 40% of your goal within the first 48 hours. So I was like, I want to fund in 48 hours, and just shy, did not reach that goal, but good enough. And so then we ended up at over $20,000. So then this is a little insight into Kickstarter. So I pulled these numbers today. So I just got the money. It takes about 2 weeks for the money to actually transfer. And you'll yeah. So you'll see like $800 of people dropping pledges. So you don't always get the full amount of money that you think you're going to get. So those are like credit cards declining and whatnot. And then the payment processing fees. So Amazon charges for the payment processing, and then Kickstarter charges a 5% fee. So those are amounts that people don't really account for, and so they realize, oh, I didn't get as much money as I thought. I knew of these going into it, but I still got a little less than I thought because I didn't realize how high the drop pledges would be. So how did we actually get to doing a Kickstarter? So little me, I had always been around entrepreneurs. My whole family, like every single person in my family is an entrepreneur. My dad worked for my uncle who had an AT&T store growing up. And so I decided, a bunch of kids come in here, why don't you have a gumball machine? So I bought one. And then his employees would fill it up with gumballs, so I had no cost whatsoever. It was perfect. I made all the money, and they put all the costs in. Then I also washed cars, so I was always trying to go for the money. Every time there was any opportunity for money, that was me as a little kid. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then in high school, I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to spell the word until like junior year, but I still knew I wanted to do it. And then my senior year, I came up with the idea for a car-themed trading card game. And it was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I took a small business management class and started working on it. And was like, wow, this is way more work than I thought it would be. And I wanted to go to Harvard. So I was applying and was like, all right, I'm going to put this to the side. So I stopped working on it and tried to get into Harvard and failed. Then I came here and totally did not want to be here, and then started loving it, when in 2013 I won a pitch competition, and they sent me to Chicago. And I met investors, and I realized, wow, people are actually excited about this. I can totally do it, and started working on it full time. And then last year I got in the top 16 of US business plan competition. I got a little too excited about that. Got a crazy board of advisors. Like Dean and Alex created a similar company and got it to 10 million in revenue their first year and 100 million their second year. And so I was like, wow, my board is awesome. I can totally win the competition. So I put $10,000 into the artwork for the game for Whole Shot Heroes. And so this is what $10,000 of artwork looks like. And then unfortunately I realized, oh shit, I can't finish it. And was like, all right, what do I do now? So I was like, oh no, I'm throwing away money. What do I do? So pivot, of course. And so I came up with the idea for Cul-de-sac Conquest and was like, all right, I can do this game a lot cheaper. So I went to the artist, and he was like, I want $10,000. And I was like, I will give you $2,000. He agreed. So I went and got the highest interest loan I could possibly ever get and paid him. Yeah, I was excited about it too. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I was able to get this loan. And then so we started playtesting the game, and everyone loved it. So at this point, like, when I started playtesting it, I had like $100 into it. I had one card made so I could show people, like, this is my vision for it. And every other card was just a sticky note. And people played it and loved it. And I was like, all right, well, if everyone wants to buy it, I'm going to get all your emails, and you're going to buy it the second I go on Kickstarter. And so I came up with the idea August 15th. I was on Kickstarter October 15th. So it was like literally 2 months from idea to Kickstarter. And then I was like, all right, this is what I need to know about Kickstarter. I had to reach out to media a lot. I didn't realize exactly how much time that takes. I had to respond to comments and stuff on Kickstarter. Luckily, I got a social media intern, and she was like lifesaver because she did all that stuff for me. But if I didn't have help, there's no way I could have done it. It took so much time that I didn't consider, because like people will comment and send me messages like every single day of the Kickstarter. I got some question about something that if you don't answer it like super timely, they just never will go back to the page, and I want them giving me their money. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to respond to this immediately. And the other thing was the early traction. As soon as I got all my friends and stuff to pledge the first hour, I got like $1,000 an hour of other people pledging for the first day. So the first few hours were crazy of even people I didn't know, because of the traction it gets on like Kickstarter's homepage, and their algorithms just work with you having traction. And then I just had to promote it really heavily. So I probably spammed a majority of the pages that I'm in on Facebook, and anywhere I could possibly spam, I did. Someone actually commented that like, you spam too much. I was like, all right, well, too bad. So I just want it to be mainly like a Q&A kind of thing. So I made my presentation short so you guys get an idea of like what I do, so then you can ask me. Yep.
I have a question on when you showed that graph of how the monies came in.
Yeah.
It looked like you had a sort of a period of very flat, and then it peaked up at the end.
Yes.
I'm wondering what caused that.
All right. So the first week of Kickstarter is always like your highest week. So that was my promotion week. That was when I was getting all my friends to back. And then the second they stop backing is the middle weeks are always going to be somewhat flat, but mine were way flatter than normal because I had a job at the time. I was working for New Scooters for Less, going to school part-time and doing this. So I was working like 100 hours a week. So the middle 2 weeks, I was just like trying to reach out to media and try to gain traction back. And as soon as I lost it, it was just like super hard to get it back. So then the last week, I just got it to shoot back up. But for the middle 2 weeks, it was super hard for me to try to get it back up.
Do you think if you had stayed engaged, you could have had a different profile, or do you think there's going to be a natural lull in the middle?
There's always a natural lull. Like everyone I spoke with that had Kickstarter, so I did like speak with a ton of people like Trevor and a bunch of Lindsay from Immerse Games. They all had successful Kickstarters. And then just in my space, I spoke with a lot of people. the main thing I found was that they are some. I think mine was bad or worse than theirs because I didn't have any like social media following. So I didn't have anyone to reach. I just had, like, once my friends were captivated, I was like, oh no, what do I do now? So that's why I was trying to use like media outlet to spin it, but it was hard to get that. I just kept emailing people like, I raised $10,000 in 52 hours was my subject line, and normally they would open it, and that was good.
He was relentless.
Andrew, I just thought maybe you could tell everyone what you did on the first day. You raised $5,000 the first night, how you did that with the launch parties and the startup hour, and then in the end, to get it back up, you had a minimum donation of $1 number. So you can explain how those two big increases came about.
Okay. So yeah, at the beginning, it was mainly startup hour. So I just used social pressure of having everyone there and got as many people to back immediately as possible. And then I had a few launch events in other cities as well. So I had one in Orlando. Some guy in Kentucky did one that I didn't even know, which is kind of cool. One of my intern did one in DC. And so we just had as many events as we possibly could have the first night so that we would have that traction. And then we had like a minimum $1 pledge so that during the middle, I could go to my friends that were like, oh, I don't have money. I'm like, it's only $1. Just put the $1 in. And then once they put the $1 in, Kickstarter's algorithm uses they use backer count. So we had 355 backers. They use percent funded, and the amount of money raised they all go into their algorithm. And the main one is the backer number. So the higher backers you have, the more likely you are to be on their homepage. So our goal was to get that as high as possible so we could keep getting on their homepage and keep getting new people to back it.
Hi, Andrew. So what kind of premiums did you offer in your Kickstarter campaign? Because that's usually the way that you incentivize people. And what does your production schedule need to look like now?
So the premiums, like we had the base, like $20 pledge is the game, and then we had a $35 pledge that's the game plus a not safe for work edition with all the very risque cards. And then it goes up, like you can have your own character in the game for $1,000, which we had like 3 pledges at that level. Now our production schedule, we're working with the artists right now to finish up the artwork. We're hoping that will be done in like the next month or so. And then we have to work with all of the unique custom cards, like the people who got their own face on a card and that sort of thing. Once that's done, we send it to the manufacturer, and that process takes about 3 months. So we're hoping that by the end of March is when we'll actually have the physical game. Before then, like we get 1 copy of the game back, shipped here, and then we check it and then get the larger production. So that's what takes time, is the Chinese manufacturer gives me a sample copy so I can check for quality assurance stuff before doing the full run. So that was something I was really big into.
I had the speaking wand, so where did you get your graphics that you in your presentation? The guy shoveling the money in, that sort of thing.
Oh, it's this site, Giphy.com. It's all like GIFs. They're fun. It's fun. Yeah, these are all the same site. There's a few of them out there, and they're just like 5-second clips. But I had never used them, and then the Kickstarter, I wanted my updates to be fun, so I found the most ridiculous ones I possibly could, even if they fit the thing, like not at all. And people would laugh at them, and so I got more likes and more engagement on my like updates. So you can update the campaign and be like, oh, this is what we're doing. And so we did that a lot, and then I'm taking a consumer behavior class. And so I actually used a lot of psychology in my posts because he was teaching me all these things that I thought were useful. And so I kept using things like people use a base number, and if you give them a high base number, another number seems lower. So like when we needed like $1,000 left the last day, I was like, look, we've already raised $19,000. It's only 1,000 more, even though I'm like, $1,000, that's so much money. And so they used that base number, and people started increasing their pledges like immediately after I sent the update. After one of my updates, I made like $500 of just increased pledges, which was cool.
Are these open source? I guess
Yes, sir.
I'll speak loudly. I guess I've ended up with one. So I have two questions. Have you trademarked or protected, copyrighted this in any way, or do you plan to? And then the second question is, once you satisfy the Kickstart customers, where do you plan to go from there? Where do you see taking this?
All right, perfect. So trademarking it now. I literally worked with the attorney yesterday on it and doing like a better founders agreement because I have one in place, but I wanted to get it done better. And then we are getting more than enough units of inventory. We had always planned on getting a higher number because most of the Chinese manufacturers require 1,000 to 1,500 units anyways. Since we only have like 355 backers, our amount of games sold is probably somewhere around like 400-ish because there's some that pledge for more than one game. And so we're going to have a lot of excess inventory. So we're going to trade shows like the big conventions for gaming, as well as we're going to try to get into smaller retailers. So the Kickstarter, like 7 retailers pledged on there. And then we had 4 others that expressed like they want to buy a bunch of copies of the game, but didn't want to do it on Kickstarter because they've got people not fulfill Kickstarters before, and they were just afraid of putting a few $100s out for it. So.
Speaking one. I love the presentation. Are these open source, or do you
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Yeah, they're all open source. Giphy, Giphy, I think.
Okay, thanks. And then how did you go about finding your Chinese manufacturer?
That was hard. So I looked into manufacturers for a while and I couldn't find any that I really liked. So then I went to all the big conventions and saw which ones were tabling. And then I asked them for their clients so I could then talk to the people they've worked with previously. And I found like 2 that I really liked. One just because she wants to buy my other game from me. And they made Cards Against Humanity and Exploding Kittens, so they printed for some of the top companies. And then the other one also does that, but they're more US based, so, and the owner is just like way easier to deal with. And he's more professional, but he's more expensive, so it's like now I'm trying to pick between the 2. But we had kind of known beforehand. I got a bunch of manufacturing quotes, and then I pitted them all against each other. I was like, well, this guy just told me he would do it for this. What are you going to do to counter that? And then so they fought with each other, and I got the price as low for each of them as they possibly can go. And now one is still significantly higher than the other, but he provides more quality assurance stuff that I'm interested in. So it's just a matter of finding out where the benefits outweigh the costs and that sort of thing. And I also love these things. I'm glad I found them through the Kickstarter.
Question. What did you learn about the market? Like, do you see boys using these, like women buying for their children, age ranges? What did you learn?
So I don't have all the demographic stuff yet. That's like in the reward surveys, which I hadn't sent out because I wanted to get the money first. So I'm gonna have questions like that. But from like actually talking to people and seeing like what they told me in the messages on Kickstarter, a majority were like parents buying for their kids or adults buying the not safe for work ones because they thought it'd be funny to play with their friends and get drunk too. So that's probably actually the bigger segment. Like that was our highest reward tier, was the $35 one that included the not safe for work cards. So those are more older people, and then the base game was the family friendly, like people that just want to play with their kids, which was probably about like 40% of it, and 60% was the 35. So.
Do you have an example of one of the naughty ones?
So our first card was an exotic bush sculpture. It's a penis tree, honestly. So yeah, that was the first one. We're working on others. They're all ridiculous things that your neighbors could possibly do that are not safe for work. So yeah, they're funny. They're my favorite cards, but We'll see. A lot of the people that pledged to the Kickstarter, they wanted to see them, and when I sent them their card, they're like, "Oh, these are actually not safe for work." I was like, "Yeah, trust me, they are." So you got to take the one.
It's for the video.
You mentioned that the original artist quoted you 10,000 and you offered 2,000 and they accepted it. Was there any conditions on that, or were they just highballing initially?
I think he wanted to work on a game, and I got impassioned about it by just telling him I would pay for one card at the full price. So I did the first card was like $120, and then I told him I would give him like $20 a card after that. So I just significantly underbid him, which I've spoke with other artists, and I have a friend that is actually an artist, and he works at the Savannah College of Art and Design, and he told me some of like the prices. He was like, "Oh, you way underbid him. No one should ever accept that." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but he does, so good."
Where'd you go about finding the artist?
So, one second, I'll find the cards. So we have two artists for this game. So there's the actual art, and then there's like the layout stuff like this. So the layout designer is in Argentina, and so I found him on Facebook. So he does this. He started working on the other game for free. And I was like, all right, I'm going to use you forever now. And then this guy is in Norway. I found him on this site called Behance. It's Adobe's website for creatives. So normally you have to pay like $1,500 to get an ad on there and find people. I just search for people, message them, and I'm like, hey, now talk to me outside of Behance so I can hire you. And just do that. And so normally they'll way overbid, like, because most of them are good. I find ones that have awards on Behance because it's pretty safe. Like if they have an award, people like their work, and I check their following and stuff. And if they're really good and people seem to like their style, then I use them. So like this guy, he had this game that looked similar, and I was like, oh, I love his art. I'm going to hire him. And so I wanted him before he quoted me, and then I knew like as long as his quote wasn't absurd that I would use him, and then it was. So I underbid him.
So when getting the artist to work on your card, did you give them a lot of instruction? Did you give them high-level detail? Like how'd you come up with this ultimate design?
Not really. So I like my artists because I give them like all creative freedom. I'm like, so for this, I was like, just draw a cat lady, and he did it. And for this, I was like, draw someone meditating, and then he added the hoarder so you can see the bugs. That's one of the characters, and so he'll add them in some of the other cards. And he has a lot of detail stuff that I didn't even ask him to do. Like there's a rat under this game, and he has the rat in a bunch of cards, so it's like a hidden Easter egg. And then there's this little bird that he adds to a bunch of cards. And he does stuff like that all the time. Like there's a garage in the game, and he has a pizza on the roof from Breaking Bad, and we just have a bunch of little Easter egg things in it. That's funny. But yeah, I've sourced all my art for the other game. How I use Behance is these guys were all on Behance. And I needed custom car designers, and it's super hard to find them, so that was the only place I could find custom cars.
Andrew, what's going to happen next with the cars game?
Investment. I'm going meeting an investor today. I've already had people express interest, but I just need a lot of money. So I'm making sure that it's no longer mine. Now someone else's money, because I don't have any more. And so yeah, so basically it's this game, like you get cars, you have a character which will decide, like your racer will decide, you know, what kind of cars you can drive and whatnot, and you can sabotage your opponent's cars, you can upgrade your cars, and you can block sabotage cards, and then you race on different tracks and stuff, which I don't have a picture of.
What is the age that you're...
For this game, the age demographic is 7 to 14, so it's more in line with like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And we found that to be consistent with Tracksters, which the two guys on our board of advisors who started the similar company, they created a game called Tracksters. It was like a little die-cast model car you would get, and you could get a code and play an online racing game. Ours is like you get the card, and there's a code at the bottom, and the idea is you can play an online racing game.
All right, so you mentioned the online aspect of it. Where do you see this going in like 3 years? And well, how far are you into your college degree?
I think I'm a junior.
Okay, so maybe have a year and something. So where do you see this going in like a couple of years? Are you going to keep doing this after you graduate? Obviously.
Yeah, that's the plan. So I've been trying to get stuff done as fast as possible because I need it to be making money. So when I graduate, I don't have to get a job because I want to work on it, and I like cars. So this is my main thing right here. This game was like, I've been working on it for 2.5 years. I love it. And so the other game was kind of like, it became way more fun to develop because it's hilarious. But it started as just, I was like, oh no, I need money. How am I going to make revenue so I can get investors to invest at a percentage that I'm comfortable with? And so now that I have some traction, I'm going to investors and I'm trying to get the 2 guys who started the similar company to invest. So we'll see if they will. Augie's expressed interest, so we'll see about that as well.
How much money are you asking for?
It depends on the plan. So we have 2 versions of business plan. One which is just the card game, no online, just like forget that part. That's like $100,000 to do it like full scale marketing campaign, do everything right. It's 1.3 million, which is around what they raised for Traxxers. They raised 1.87 million for that.
For what percentage?
I honestly don't know. They told me it was over 50%. That's all he would tell me. For 1.87 million, they were pre-revenue. They didn't have any development. They just went into an idea. He said he didn't have a PowerPoint, anything. They went and got one investor to invest, and once they had him, they leveraged it and were like, look, this guy's smart. He invested. Why wouldn't you invest? They raised all the money in Gainesville. Now,
You're talking about Dean Cheshire?
Yeah, Dean and Alex Reese. Alex lives in Orlando now, and Dean still lives here. Yep.
So 2 questions. One, you said that you paid full price for the original cul-de-sac cards, and then you ended up paying about $20 for the art. Can you give us any insights into what these beautiful designs cost?
Way more. These are $350.
It's still not bad.
No, they're pretty good. I own all the rights to them, so if I ever wanted to build one of the cars, I can. And I got an automotive designer that said he can build this, and I was like, all right, I'm going to use that. So totally building that one day. Maybe I can add that to the investment. Hey, look, you can have a cool car. And so that's the main thing. These ones are way cheaper. I paid $100 for the characters. I'm probably going to get them redone. I didn't like them too much. These are super easy. The guy charged me, I think, like $40. This artist did all of the other cards. He does all of the other cards and some of the cars. But since the cars are the most significant thing, we have a bunch of people doing it. And then we just got a 3D designer that's designing all the cars in 3D so we can do it for the online game. And he's actually based in Gainesville. He works for Trendy right now. He's super cool.
And then you said you were a car guy. What kind of car are you getting when you're a rich entrepreneur?
I'll take that one. I currently have a 1979 Camaro Z28. That's my love. So I've had that since I was like 12. My dad gave it to me. And so I've been working on it forever, and it still doesn't run. What's great is it ran when I got it. So it's ran back and forth over time. I'm constantly at battle with my car. One day. So yeah, that's the next thing. Once I have money, I'm fixing my Camaro. I want it to be like painted blue because it's currently blue with Whole Shot Heroes on the side of it. It'd be super cool. So instead of a Z28 stripe, it'll say Whole Shot Heroes. So I'm getting an artist to design it right now, and so I can print it and put it on my wall. That's my vision board. So, yeah.
Any more questions? Well, can you tell us a little bit about the charity work that you've done too?
All right, so charity work. I have always been big into charity. When I was in high school, I did fundraisers for a 7-year-old cancer patient and raised like $500 for her, and then raised like $500 for this nonprofit in Orlando called Causes for Kids. The owner decided he loved me because I was raising all kinds of money for him, and I was like 17. So he decided to put me on the board, and so I've been on the board of that for like a year now. I was unofficially on the board, and then they just elected me a few months ago. And so the main thing they are looking for is that I connect with a bunch of people and that I have been working with them for so long, so I plan on doing more events. For cul-de-sac, the base game, what we plan on doing, because these are totally safe for kids, we want to give some to hospitals and do gaming nights at hospitals for kids with terminal illnesses. So I've been big into that for a while, and so that's how we plan on using this game for charity stuff.
Well, Andrew, here is a token of our appreciation for you to come and do your presentation. And I'd like for you to tell Dean that he needs to write a check with lots of zeros, and then I've told him to do so, okay?
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.